How do you have to get rid of your chametz? Sorry, again, we're going to start today. Pesachim Aleph. We are in the middle of machlekes between Rabbi and Chacham. According to Yehuda, the only way to get rid of the chametz is by burning it. According to Chacham, you don't have to burn it. You could just crunch it up and throw it in the air. We're asking where is the source of Rabbi Yehuda. We finished off yesterday, on Thursday, at the bottom of Chazayin Amud Beis. Rabbi Yehuda, the source was he learned how from Neisar, from that which a carbon, which is left over, has to be burnt. Just like by Neisar has to be burnt, so to has to be burnt. Says Chachamim, we're just going to start on Chazayin Amud Beis all the way at the bottom. Amr Lei, Chachamim told Rabbi Yehuda, I can bring you a proof from the fat of a sherniska. A sherniska is an animal that gored and killed someone. He has to be stoned. So the din is that animal is asur ba'ana, can't have any benefit from it. And the fat in the animal is also asur ba'ana. So just like the fat is asur ba'achila ba'ana, just like the fat of the animal is asur to eat and to have benefit from it. Onush kares, and if you eat it, you get kares. But we still see, even though Torah said you can't benefit from it, ain't ton slave, it doesn't burn. So to chametz, even though you can't eat it and you get kares, who said you have to burn? You have to burn it. Says the Gemara Chazer, Rabbi Yehuda was chazer. Rabbi Yehuda, when we retracted his source of where he learns you have to burn chametz from, the Donu Achad Neisar, he learned that from a different detail in Neisar. What's the detail in Neisar? The Yeshnu Babas series, the din of Neisar that you cannot leave it over. You cannot intentionally leave a carbon over past its deadline. Meaning a carbon wants a shechta that has usually 24 hours to be eaten, and just like Neisar has a deadline, has to be gotten rid of. So to chametz about the siddur, so to chametz has to be gotten rid of by a certain time. So man Neisar b'sefer, just like the way you get rid of the Neisar is by burning it. Av chametz b'sefer, so to the way you get rid of chametz by burning it. So these things are the only things Rabbi Yehuda can find in Torah that is a deadline when to get rid of them. And the Torah says the way to get rid of Neisar by burning it. So also the way to get rid of chametz by burning it. Amrullah, so Chachamim told that Rabbi Yehuda, Asham Taloi, B'chata Seif, Habal, Nasafik, V'racha Yechichu. I can bring you a proof from things that have to be burned, that have to get rid of, which is the Neisar of Asham Taloi, and so the leftover of Asham Taloi. So to the leftover of a chatas. A bird chatas. The din is v'racha sheheim b'atzir according to Rabbi Yehuda, you have to get rid of them. But how do you have to get rid of them? We say, according to us, we say you have to get rid of them by burning them. But according to you, but you contradict your own theory. You say the only way to get rid of the ashram after its deadline is by burying it, not by burning it. So how can you learn that from Neisar? That has to be burnt. You yourself say by Neisar and other kabbalas, and by Neisar of ashram has to be buried. And Shasak, if you have nothing to answer to this, and the Gemara brings an example. Amr Yosef says, "This is what people say. This is the marshal people say in English. We say, I think he killed himself with his own medicine or something like that. But in Aramaic they had a different type. Kapo the chata nagra, the same spoon that a craftsman made. If a craftsman makes a spoon, he burned his own tongue by feeding himself with the same spoon mustard, meaning that he basically hurt himself with his own tool that he made. Another Masha said, Sadana Besadni Yosef, Midville Yedei, Mishtal of the handcuffs that a craftsman makes, those are the same handcuffs that he got tied up with. Amar Rava says, Gayara Begiri Miktil, someone who makes someone who makes arrows got killed with Vil Yedei, Mishtal got killed with his own arrows. Meaning this is a marshal that the same Rabbi Yehuda who said Rabbi Yehuda wanted to bring a proof from Neisar, but he himself basically messed his own proof up, because by Neisar he said you have to bury it, and by over here he said you have to burn it. So he himself tried to bring a proof from Neisar, but he himself holds differently. By Neisar, therefore he got slugged up. He got refuted from his own proof. Okay, so that's we finished bringing proofs of Yehuda. Now we're going to the Chacham. The Chacham said by chametz you have to scrunch it up or crumble it up and throw it in the air. Said the Chacham, bring a quote from the Mishnah. Chacham said that you have to, in order to get rid of chametz, you have to scrunch it up and throw it in the air. They asked the question, how do you have to get rid of the chametz? If you're throwing in the air, do you have to? But when you're throwing in the air, you have to crumble it up. But if you're getting rid of it by sea, by water, do you have to also crumble it up in the sea? Only when you throw in the air, you have to crumble it up. But if you're getting rid of the chametz by throwing to the sea, you don't have to go and bother and crumble the chametz up. You could just throw your piece of bread into the sea. So that's the question. Do chachamim need you, even when you're throwing into the sea, to crumble it up? Or do we say, but when you're throwing into the sea, you could just throw it the way it is? But now we're going to bring a proof. Like Avodah Zarah, we have the same type of idea by Avodah Zarah. Avodah Zarah also has to get demolished. How do you have to demolish it? We have the same question. Basically says, you have two options. Either you could crumble the Avodah Zarah up and throw it into the air, or you could just take the Avodah Zarah and throw it into the sea. So we asked according to the Rabbi, what does that mean? When you throw it into the sea, do you have to also crumble it up? Or maybe do we say no? When you throw it into the air, you have to throw it into the air. You have to crumble it up before. But if you throw it into the sea, throwing to the sea, there's no reason for you to crumble the Avodah Zarah up before you throw it into the sea. You can throw it into the sea the way it is. No one's going to get it anyway. So that's the question. I'm just thinking about it. Rabbi says, when you're bringing a proof from Avodah Zarah, the way to get rid of Avodah Zarah, you have to throw it in the Yam HaMelech. And the Yam HaMelech, there's no boats. People don't go there. So therefore, if you're throwing Avodah Zarah into the Yam HaMelech, there's no reason for you to crumble up the Avodah Zarah because no one's ever going to find it anyway. But chametz, regarding chametz, the shine hardest cause. Chametz, you can throw into any river or any sea. So by Peter, you have to crumble it up because if you're just throwing it the way it is, maybe it's going to be a boat or someone's going to be swimming over there and he's going to find the chametz and eat it on Pesach. Amar later, Yosef said, the other way around. Why are you saying the Avodah Zarah? You have to throw it. You can put it the way it is. And regarding chametz, you have to crumble it up. I can say it completely the other way around. Avodah Zarah, regarding Avodah Zarah, the loy misa, regarding Avodah Zarah, which is a solid material and it doesn't melt inside the water. By shrika, regarding Avodah Zarah, since it's always going to stay the way it is, therefore for Avodah Zarah you have to grind it up. Chametz, regarding the chametz, the mimis, regarding the chametz, the loaf of bread is going to crumble in the sea in a few minutes. It doesn't have to. I would say the other way. By chametz, I don't have to grind it up. So we try to say by Avodah Zarah, you don't have to grind it up because it's in the Yam HaMelech. But chametz, someone's going to find this. You have to grind it up. Rabbi says the other way around. What do you mean? By Avodah Zarah, it's going to stay the way it is. Therefore, for sure, Avodah Zarah, you have to grind it up. Chametz is going to decrumble in a few minutes in the sea anyway. So therefore, Chacham didn't need you to go and crumble the chametz up. So we don't know what to do yet. Gemara finishes off and says, Tanya Kavasei that Rabbi, I bring a proof for Rabbi and Tanya Kavasei Rabbi. I can bring a proof in both directions. I can bring a proof side for Rabbi that says that by chametz you don't have to scramble it up, and side for the Rabbi that says by chametz you do have to scramble it up. What is the proof? Tanya Kav say that Rabbi, the proof according to Rabbi that you don't have to crumble the chametz is a proof that says in a brayso. So if you're going inside the desert on Erev Pesach and you have a piece of bread with you, in order to get rid of the bread, you have to crunch it up and throw it into the air. If you're going in a boat, what do you have to do? You have to crumble up the chametz also in the sea. So here's a clear proof that according to Rabbi said you have to crumble the chametz, even if you're throwing to the sea. If a brisa says you have to crumble the chametz before throwing into the sea. Tanya Kavasei say that. So if I have a brisa which can prove it that it says if you're going to the desert, you throw into the air. The other brisa said if you're going to the sea, you take the Avodah Zarah and you throw it into the sea. Says the Gemara, Shrika Kasha L'Rabba, Kasha Pirur, Kasha Yosef. So I have a contradict. These brises, since they contradict each other, so Rabbi has to tie trace the other brise that contradicts him, and Yosef has to tie trace the other brise that contradicts him. So it's more like this. Shrika regarding Avodah Zarah, they have to grind it up. It's not a contradiction to Rabbi, even though Rabbi said that by chametz you have to crumble it up. Very simple. The first bite that says you don't have to crumble it up is speaking about Yam HaMelech. And when it says the Brisa says you have to crumble up even the Avodah Zarah, it's speaking about other naharis, other rivers that are more accessible. So regarding other rivers that are more accessible, if you're throwing away Avodah Zarah, you have to crumble it up. And that which have a contradiction in the Brisa According to Rabbi Yosef, that's not a question. The Rabbi says you don't have to crumble the chametz. Is speaking about the Rabbi says you have to crumble the chametz. Is speaking about chiti. Is speaking about wheat. And regarding wheat, since wheat, if you have wheat which is a solid, wheat is never going to go decrumble by itself. So wheat you have to crumble up. And the Rabbi that says that you don't have to crumble the chametz. Ben and that the Rabbi says, hey, you don't have to crumble the chametz. You have bread. Bread is going to decrumble anyway. Since bread is going to decrumble anyway, so there's no reason for you to go and crumble it before you throw it in. Okay, we're going to stop over here. The next mission is really a new subject. We're going to stop over here at the bottom of Chavches Amud Aleph. Have a good night.